up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while, sorry. Been super busy. Just about to wrap up a kit for B Racing. Just waiting on a couple more things to come in the mail and then I can get that shipped out. But then it's full steam ahead on this car until it gets running. So I'm gonna talk about a couple things that I've been doing here and there on the side while I'm waiting for parts for fabrication. And yeah, let's get into it. So I'm at the point of the build where I have the last 10% to do until it gets running. And what that means is I pretty much just have wiring left to do to get this car running. There's really not much wiring to do. Not a lot is changing except for a couple pretty key components. So let's talk about it. A couple big ticket items that are changing for this car this year. One, obviously the engine. We've talked about that. It is an iron block, originally 2.8 M52 that I put in a 3-liter crankshaft and then Eagle forged connecting rods and some diamond pistons. So 3-liter forged bottom end, call it an M52 B30 stroker, if you will. S52 cams, stock head otherwise, stock head gasket, and a couple other little supporting mods on the engine. I am staying single vanos this time around. So as you can see here, single vanos, and this allows me to run the S52 cams that I think are gonna sound really good and give me a really good power band. The other key piece of the puzzle is engine management. Up until now, I've been on a factory ECU, MS43. This car was originally MS45 to 2004, so it had the later model ECU, or DME, and I converted it back to MS43 for tuning purposes. You know, at the time, not a lot of tuners wanted to touch MS45, so converted it back to MS43. This time around, however, we're ditching the factory computer and we're going with a standalone. So I went with an EMU black. I've actually had this a really long time. I got it not this past Black Friday, but the previous Black Friday. Got a good deal on it. And then I also got a really good deal, a plug and play harness to get the actual ECU out of the way here. You can see down there is a PNP ECU, GS tuning. So I got a good deal on that used. All of this tucks in here quite nicely. Obviously this looks crazy right now. I'm still in the process of, you know, doing the last few touches to the wiring and getting everything sorted out. Got a flex fuel sensor. This is for the MAC valve for the boost controller. One of the biggest things that I'm looking forward to is simplifying the wiring on this car. Previously, I had, you know, the 3 kind of analog looking gauges there. I had a boost gauge, AFR gauge. We're getting rid of all of that. And in turn, we get to get rid of all of this spaghetti that admittedly, I didn't really know what I was doing when I wired all those gauges. And I did not do it very cleanly, but it worked. So I'm really excited to get rid of all of that. And the thing that's taking its place, come over here, Power Tune digital dash. So everything, all the parameters that I need to see while the engine's running is going to be displayed on the digital dash. It's not mounted yet, but it comes with a little bracket that it'll probably be pretty easy to mount where I want it to. And then the best part about that is there are 4 wires. So power, ground, and then can high, can low, plug into the back of that. And then I don't need any more extra wiring to go behind the dash or underneath or everywhere, you know, back in here. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to kind of simplify everything this time around and, I don't know, get better at wiring. I got to kind of teach myself a few things. I got this little Deutsch connector kit. Probably not gonna, well, I know I'm not gonna use all of that because I really only need a couple plugs to get this all situated. But so we got flex fuel sensor there, and then come around here we have our wideband, so that's all controlled by the ECU now. Something else to note is a few months ago I built an atmospheric dump for the wastegate. Came out right around here and it just dumped to atmosphere because I thought I wanted to be super hot boy, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized I think I'm more of a recirculated gate type of person. So I made a new pipe. I cut up the old one and used all the basically scrap material, made a new pipe. Nice little flex V-band, and a nice little integration into, I guess, I don't think that's the down pipe, maybe the mid pipe is what you'd call it, but I'm really excited to see how it sounds. My first rendition of this exhaust had like a couple 90-degree, pretty harsh bends in it because I didn't know what I was doing when I first built this exhaust. But now it's a much more smooth, more straight through system. Got a megaphone in there, and it comes all the way back here to a Canon style muffler. And then finishes off at the back with a nice little 4-inch pie cut turn down. So really excited to see how this sounds. Honestly, I'm not that far away from starting it up. Just got to finish up the wiring, put some oil in it. That doesn't sound good. And then it should be good to go. A couple other things that are worth mentioning. I got this oil cooler. So I had never ran an oil cooler before. I got these special fittings from, I forget the guy's name, but he's from Poland. And he makes these fittings that you basically take the plugs out of the oil filter housing and then it adapts them to -10 AN. So I think that's pretty cool. I'm really not a fan of AN lines in this case because it's really tight. They're kind of intrusive. You have to get the lengths just right. So honestly, I'm not super happy with how this came out, and I will probably just get all new fittings and do like -10 to like 5/8 push lock and just run some hydraulic hose. Because it's pretty tight here with the headlight. I probably could have routed it different, but whatever. We have a Rally Road oil cooler thermostat because you do want your oil to get up to a certain temperature to burn off all the moisture and contaminants, sludge, and all that stuff. So this is actually the first time that I'll be running coolant to a turbo. These are neat little hard lines that you can bend. So it's got a banjo, and then you just weld like a barb to the other end. So banjo to hard line, and there's a barb about here inside there, and then I have some silicone hose that goes into another banjo into this fitting here. I got this hose all heat wrapped because it runs pretty close to the manifold and the wastegate right there. And then the drain for the turbo for the coolant comes down, just follows basically the oil drain, drains into the fitting in the side of the block. So pretty simple cooling setup. Of course, this oil supply hose is the same one I've been running. I got a filter on the oil supply for the turbo just for some peace of mind. We talked about this before, but this is a mechanical thermostat housing that I welded the M54 fittings onto so that I can use factory coolant hoses, stock E46 coolant hoses, because I had just bought them and they were brand new. And I had all this laying around, so I just decided why not. Looks kind of cool, and it allows me to run a mechanical thermostat. So that's actually going to delete a lot of wiring along here. M54 dual vanos. You have your exhaust cam position sensor, the exhaust vanos solenoid, the thermostat. You have all that up here. So all those sensors are now deleted. Don't need them anymore. Very simplified, nice and clean. Step over here. I previously was running the M50 threaded style intake air temperature sensor. It's a slow reading sensor, so decided why not? I'm moving to standalone, so might as well get a fast reading sensor. So this is just the ECU master, or the WHP sensor. Found out later that this is just a GM sensor, so they slap their name on it and hike up the price. But anyways, new intake air temperature sensor should get better readings. I remade the hot side charge pipe. One, because after putting the angle kit on, this tire was hitting my old pipe at full lock, and obviously we can't have that. So I decided to make this side new with some pie cuts so it matches the other side, which currently is not on the car, but it tucks this in a lot tighter here so that the tire misses it. Got a bung welded to it for the MAC valve reference. I have this oil pressure sensor or whatever. I'm not going to be running this. I got a newer style, basically a 3-wire oil pressure sensor. I got a smoke and deal on this Villains angle kit. It's got some overspray on it from when I painted the bay, but basically scratch and dent discount on these Villains angle blocks. So I got those installed, a little bit of modification to the knuckle there, new outers. I kept the inners, but you do have to chop those, shorten them a little bit to get it all to work, but a ton more angle now. Tire hits the frame rail now, so I need smaller tires or maybe a spacer or something. I still have to work that out, but it is what it is. It's not a priority right now. Something else to note is I used to have the E46 coilover mounted sway bar end links, and they weren't allowing full angle from the angle blocks, and so I ditched those. Got these E36 sway bar end links, which they just mount to the control arm, which is kind of nice. So obviously no more binding there, and they look kind of cool, so that's awesome. Might be kind of hard to see here, but coming underneath the car, I made the switch to rev shift engine and transmission mounts. It was previously on stock Lemforder or whatever rubber mounts, which work, but these should make the car feel a little better. Get a little better angle of everything going on underneath the manifold there. We have oil drain, got the coolant drain into the side of the block there. Cool little wastegate recirculation. Pretty stoked on that. Everything fits in here really nice. Might be kind of hard to see here, but I finally made the move and got some axle spacers. The car isn't super low, but low enough to where these aren't going to hurt. So axle spacers, new bolts from McMaster car, got them all torqued up. I like to use this, it's called like high vis something or other, but it's basically just, it's a visual indication of if the bolt moved or not. I know, especially on welded diffs, these bolts like to back out, so it's just a nice little peace of mind for when I'm doing a bolt check every once in a while. I can just visually check these, make sure they're still good. Back inside the car, this is one of my favorite pieces. I had a Nardi in here before, but recently took a trip with a bunch of friends to Japan, and one of my goals, I had a mission. I was like, I need to find a cool steering wheel to bring home for the ZHP, and I found one. This was in an up garage just outside of Tokyo. Horn button's super cool. Full speed Momo. It's like chrome. It's got the Japanese flag on it, white lettering. I think it's a super nice wheel. Anyways, I think I'm gonna end it there. Probably a little bit of a shorter video than I typically put out, but I know it's been a long time since I've uploaded. I just wanted to give a quick update. Make sure, you know, you guys know, no, I didn't forget about this car. I've just been really busy with work and, you know, side projects and all that stuff. So what you can expect next is, I don't know. I'm not really sure, but I know that I'm going to be working on this thing a lot in the upcoming weeks. I'm really motivated to get this thing running. Obviously not on the road because it's middle of winter in the Pacific Northwest, and it's on and off snowing. It's typically snowier than it is right now, but you know, I don't plan on driving this thing till spring. So I am really looking forward to getting this thing running and hearing it. You know, this is the furthest I've gone into rebuilding an engine, and so obviously I'm super nervous, but I feel like I did everything right and it shouldn't come back to bite me. But anyways, I appreciate y'all for taking the time to watch my videos, and we'll see you next time.